We have to feel a sense of urgency. Ultimately, Congress will follow the people. And we have to stop being confused about this. At some point, as a country, we have to reckon with what happens. It is not good enough simply to show sympathy.
President Obama last night once again calling for stricter gun laws in the wake of the Charleston shooting. Similar call he made 2.5 years ago after a gunman killed 20 young children and 6 adults in Newtown, Connecticut. Gun control bill drafted after that tragedy died in the Senate, defeated by Democrats in red states who are up for re-election.
All in all, this was a pretty shameful day for Washington. But this effort is not over. I want to make it clear to the American people, we can still bring about meaningful changes that reduce gun violence, so long as the American people don't give up on it.
2 years later, America is coping now with yet another mass shooting, and the question of whether the response this time can be any different. Joined now by Bob Herbert, Distinguished Senior Fellow at Demos. So, Bob, here's what I wonder about this. If the opposite of what we kind of expect to happen is happening here, and that is, with every mass shooting, you might expect the momentum for some kind of legislative change on guns is going to increase. Oh, this is terrible. This is even worse. Now we really need to do something. And I'm starting to wonder if the opposite's happening. That with every one, we're just becoming more numb to it, and it's less likely there's going to be a response.
I think the latter is the case. I don't think that we're going to make any meaningful steps toward meaningful gun control anytime soon. And but I don't think we should give up on the fight. People who want to restrict access to guns should continue the fight, because I've seen so many generational changes, and I think that's what's going to be required. I think you're going to get another generation of politicians. It takes a long time. You're going to get another generation of voters. That takes a while. So I think that it's an important fight, because it's such a horrendous, tragic issue. So I think that what happens is maybe you bring more people. You don't get legislative changes with these terrible tragedies, but you bring more people to the issue, and that's what I hope. I hope there's some kind of momentum from the bottom up rather than the top down.
See, I mean, you're talking a sort of a real big picture, long-term game there. I mean,
I'll tell you how long-term I'm talking about. I've seen the kind of generational changes that we've seen in cigarette smoking, for example, or the kind of changes with regard to gay rights. These things took years and years, decades in some cases. That's what I think is going to be required. But I think the issue is so important that it's necessary to put in that kind of an effort.
Is it worth it, given what you're saying, and just given the futility of, in the wake of Newtown, if Congress couldn't pass anything in the wake of that, is it even worth it for a member of Congress right now who says, I want stricter gun laws, to put legislation forward? Is it worth it?
I think they should. I mean, I wish they should. The president makes his comments frequently about the need for gun control legislation, but he doesn't put the weight of the White House behind it, because, you know, he sees it as a losing issue. And I'm sure that it is. But I wish that he would put the weight there. That, again, you're building a foundation, and, you know, the president could be an important part of that foundation. But there's another point that I think about as well. In the shorter term, because I'm talking about a long time, in the shorter term, we have to address this idea of violence in this country. This country is so insanely violent that we really need a conversation about how to address important issues non-violently. That a bullet is not the answer to one's problems, whether we're talking about personal interactions or whether we're talking about, you know, big issues, you know, like war and peace. And so I would like to see that kind of a conversation get started as well.
So it can proceed maybe on parallel tracks. Yeah. Anyway, Bob Herbert from Demos, thanks for taking a few minutes this morning. Appreciate that.